And remember also in 2019, we went to commission free trading. So there was, through this period of time, there's been a couple of different shifts. One was commission free trading. We've had a couple crypto waves in here. Crypto peaked and then declined, and then peaked and then declined, and then peaked and then declined. So, there's a correlation there. I'm pretty sure this was the best year prior to 2020. Oh, so prior to that, well, 2016 was $222,000, 222. I remember that. 2016. I don't remember 2015. I don't remember what 2015 was, and I don't remember the years prior to that. So, but this was like, where things really started to pull away for me. So the prior years, six figures, but then reset the account in 2017 to do the small account challenge. Was still doing gap and go, wasn't trading till the 9:30 opening bell. And that changed in 2020 with the pandemic. I started trading pre-market. So yeah, some evolution there. And yeah, wasn't using the MACD up until like 2022. That's when I started using it roughly. And I did take profits out until I funded my Roth IRA. And then the Roth IRA, I just switched to trading in that around the pandemic because I think it was 2020 that year was split between my LLC account and my Roth IRA. And my accountant at the end of the year was like, you are going to owe a lot of taxes. And then I think 2021, and for the most part from then forward, I just traded in the Roth IRA. So yeah, prior to 2022, I felt like MACD was not really. I didn't see I didn't really see it. I didn't see the value of it. So I'm 41, and when I took my first trade in 2001, I was 16 years old when I had that first account, and I had already, had this class on the stock market when I was a couple years earlier in 98, 99. So I was already interested in the stock market, and then took my first trades when I was 16, and then uh, didn't make any money that year. Went back to mowing lawns and doing other stuff to make money, and then uh, was still sort of interested in the market. Tried to apply for an internship at a hedge fund or something like that in 2008, the year after my father had passed away. And I didn't get accepted because although I was in college, I was at the Vermont College and I was doing like a arts degree. And so they were like, no, you can't work here. So then I also applied for an internship at a architecture and design studio, and then I got that job. I started on my birthday, and then worked there for a few years, and um, ended up, started with an internship, and then I got moved up to helping with project management and getting to go on site and do all this interesting stuff. So that was really cool. But then the thing that with that job was we had at one point around 12 projects that were active at the same time. And that was it in 2008. And then, there was the market crash. And a lot of the projects, suddenly the budgets got slashed. So they were like, okay, we're reducing the budget, we're reducing the scope. So then that affected the architectural fees. And then new projects stopped coming in. And 2009, there weren't a lot of projects coming in. In 2010, that continued to be an issue. So then I ended up moving back to Vermont. And yeah. Hey, Nick. Well, thanks for being here. I hope you continue on the journey, continue to do well. And then that's when I got back into trading. I decided to give it another try. All right, so coming up towards 7:30. Josh, well, it depends who I'm going with. I'm going to wait on this. 200 moving average is at 220. We'll see if it can break over that level. Can someone remind me of a recent stock that was halted and the company put out that press release that they weren't aware of any material news? I'm trying to find that headline, that standard headline. INHD, though, did they put out that headline? There were a couple others. Yeah, ZCMD. Let me check that one. ZCMD. That's the offering. Um, ZYBT. Okay. There it is. That's the headline. Thanks for that. I'm just working on something here. So this is just a day to be patient, just to sit tight and wait. We may get some opportunities as the morning goes on, starting around 8 a.m. now, 5 minutes from now. Um, I want to keep a closer eye on the scanners because I guess the last week we've seen a little bit more momentum closer to the open. So we'll see. Is INHD delisted though, or is it just they're not delisted? They're going to resume. Well, I recognize it's halted, but it's not being delisted from the exchange. I'm just wondering why I can't get any data here. Right, I'll just ask our team to check on that. I don't see any resumption quote for INHD. So you might see a quote closer to when it's going to resume, but as of right now, I don't see any quote. I'll trade an ABCD pattern on the 1 minute. I'll trade it on the 5 minute as well, though. My gut feeling would be that I would be surprised if it resumed at $1 a share. I'm not sure how anyone could make that sort of argument, or have that belief exactly. I mean, again, I don't know for sure, but I just think that that would be. I just don't know where that would come from. Yeah, I read somewhere that there was a short seller paying $100,000 a day in short interest on it, in borrowing fees. So maybe they're the one who said it's going to resume at $1 because they want that. Yeah, so it's been halted for like 30 days, so $3 million in borrowing fees. They might end up being right, but uh, might not. I saw yesterday that the cost for NUWE was like 50 cents a share at Lightspeed. That was the cheapest, 50 cents a share. And they had as much as like 80 cents a share. I don't know if that was true with other brokers, but it was very expensive to borrow, which I talked about in the recap, but I was surprised by that. Well, that's a good point. So, you've got a stock that's been halted on T1. There's some people that might have a margin call on it. So the broker's now just going to get them out of position. So if it's a short, they would be buying. Um, but there are also people who have been holding the long side and who are going to want to sell. And are there going to be a bunch of buyers stacked up who are like, oh, I really want to get in this stock. I've been waiting 30 days to buy it. It's at, a crazy elevated price. It just got halted by the regulators. I feel like no. So it would be a absolute slap in the face for short sellers if it opens at or above the halt price and keeps going higher. It would be unprecedented, insane. Uh, could it happen? Anything could happen. We don't know. It would surprise me because that's not usually what happens after a T1 halt, because nobody really wants to own something that's just been halted like that. On the other hand, now the T1 or T12 halt risk is kind of off the table. It's done. So if you did buy it today, you probably don't have to worry about having another T12 halt on the same day. But that doesn't make me feel that much better about buying it. And in any case, if it resumes at, $30, $40 a share, that's still awfully expensive. If it resumed down at $3 or $4 a share, well, I suppose we could do a dip on short covering as the shorts lock up profit, but that's a little outside my go-to strategy. Yeah, no trades yet. Just sitting tight. So that was a pretty big pop on FCUV. Does anyone have a news headline on it? Because I'm not seeing one just yet. Okay, so watching here. All right, so let's watch this area. Watching for a squeeze up to 8. So I'm going to let it dip down here. So now we've got a 200% leader. So watching this area. Added right there. Now looking for a squeeze through 750. So watching over 735, 745. Holding 5,000 shares. So going to start doing dips in this area. And we're looking for the break through 35 and 45, and then a squeeze up to $8 a share. So watching here. All right, watch over 720. This is pretty impressive. Okay, there we go. Added. Now looking for the squeeze through 750, 760, and let's see if we get to move up to $8 a share. Watching over 750. Still holding 6,000 shares. So where's the spot on this one? I'm wondering where I could take a trade in the small account on this. I'm holding 2,000 shares right now. So we're going to let this pull back. Oh good boy, here we go. Okay, added. Now looking for a squeeze up to 8. So watching this area. Adding again here at 24. Holding smaller size. Watching dips. So still watching for the curl. Watching over 750. We're up almost 300%. So I'm sitting tight for right now. So right now you're seeing this sort of churn. So I would say let's just see what this does. I mean, it's possible there'll be another stock that pops up um, at 8:30, but I don't really expect it. I don't think anything would be able to displace this as the leading gainer. So support down here seems to be around 634. Added here. Now looking for a squeeze through 10. So watch this. So now let's see what we get from here. Holding 3,000 shares. Didn't quite get to $10 a share, but got a nice trade there. So I just got in as it came back up here to 8 for the breakthrough, the $0.50 whole dollar. So I did that order right there. Got some partial fills, but unfortunately now I feel like this is too expensive to get a trade in the small account. Just wasn't quite able to do it. We'll see what it keeps. We'll see if it keeps going higher. Nice job, you guys. Good work. High day shows us 960 right now. So if we'd broken over 10 there, I probably would have done a scalp for the high day break. But we hit a high of 976. So we can let this pull back a little bit. Added back here. Now looking for the squeeze through 10. So watching right here. Added. So my back of mind target on this is that we squeeze through $10 a share. So watching over 85 and 95. So I think we're going to break over 10. We're up 400%. Watching this area. So added at 70, now adding at 85, now looking for the breakthrough $10 a share. Let's see if we can squeeze through that whole dollar. Then we're looking for 11 and 12. So watch right here as we creep up towards that level. There's 78. Holding. Looking for 85, 95. This is a little flat top right underneath that whole dollar. So watching as we come up towards 10 and looking for us to break through that level. Added. There we go. So nice little scalp. Holding 4,000 shares, letting it dip down. Then we'll look for it to come back up again. Added back, 45. Now looking for the pop back up to 65.70. Down to 800 shares, letting it dip. So high of that candle was 1025. So watching down here. Added back, 55. I want to see if this curls back through 65 and 75. I'd like to get a retest of $10 a share. So watching this area here. Yeah, we're getting some nice action on this. Letting it dip. Added down there, bought the dip. Holding 4,000 shares. Looking for that pop back through 35 and 45. So right now we're on a little bit of a pullback. There we go. There's 35. Now watching over 45 to see if we can break back over 950. Holding 2,000 shares right now. Watching the dip. Added down there at 85. Looking for the pop back up over 9. There's 905. Little scalps down here. So letting it dip down. Then I'm going to look for the curl back up. We're up 370% here. So watching over 25 and 35. All right, MACD closing, so we'll sit tight for right now. Let it pull back some more. And we'll see if we get another setup going into the open. So just sitting tight right now. It's kind of crazy. My computer turned off, lost power, then came back on. FCUV was ripping, and jumped on for the break of six. Made 35,000 on the first trade. Then it pulls back. Then got back in for the break of seven. Made another 35,000 or so. Then gave back a little off the top, but all that happened really fast. So just sitting tight right now. I haven't looked into that too much, Sam. So sometimes you have a stock that makes a really big move like that. You don't, it just sort of fades because it was just so big that yeah, traders got caught off guard, but it went up higher than it probably would have if people hadn't gotten caught off guard, maybe shorts, whatever. Um, so now it's just kind of coming back down and shorts are now in control. You've got a sort of significant high candle there, but that may not be the case. It might give us more, so we'll see. INHD has been halted on a T12 halt for a number of weeks. Last traded on June 8th. So it's going to be resuming evidently today, but last traded at like $39 a share. So we don't really know where it's going to resume in price, but it's, I suppose, something worth keeping an eye on, maybe, but it sounded like it wasn't going to resume till like noontime, so I don't think I'll be here to take any trades on it. Well, I'm using a screen recorder for that has captures my eye movement. So I don't think that's probably what you would want. Other people use OBS for screen recording. Yeah, I mean, it's possible you get another move on this. I'm gonna. It's not out of play. It's still holding up above the volume weight average price, but I'm just gonna hold tight for right now. I don't see a setup on it right now. It is a 5 minute bull flag. I suppose you could say that, but because the 1 minute MACD is negative, that's a divergence. So I'm not going to take this trade right here. Nice, Phil. Nice job. Well, hopefully this added a little profit for the end of the month for a lot of you guys. A 350% move is pretty impressive. I use the default settings for MACD. Nice. Good work. Yeah, so that's a good point. Look, I mean, if you miss the move, you miss the move. Look, it's it's discouraging to have something go up that much and miss it. And honestly, I feel like I missed it a little bit because look at my small account. It's got nothing. On my last small account trade 2 days ago or whatever it was, I lost $7,000, lost 20% of the account in one day. And then yesterday I didn't take any trades because I was feeling a little nervous, and then today I felt like this was up too high. I just didn't want to make another big mistake, and so now we ended up having a stock go up 300%. And I missed the whole thing. So I have sort of this is always the challenge with trading in more than one account. You can have mixed feelings. You could feel good in one account and then feel bad in the other at the same exact time, which is a little bit of an unusual thing. But that's how I feel with the small account that I missed it. And looking back on the chart, my first entry was at 579. I chased it. I jumped in for the break of 6, and we got this squeeze up to 8, drop down, came back up sideways, sideways. Then I added back right here for the break of 8. We got a squeeze up to 950. So we got a couple really nice candles, but then that big sort of rejection here off of 10. So as I look at this, I've seen cleaner 10-second charts. I have. I've seen cleaner 10-second charts. This one's a little tricky. And so if you got, on the wrong side and you gave back some profit, I also gave back a little off the top. I could see easily how that could have happened. If you missed it because you weren't really sure, and then all of a sudden a big green candle right after you get out, I could see how that would have happened too. So, I'm glad that we had something moving. It's better than having nothing, but I also can see how easy it would have been to be red on it or to not trade it at all. And both of those things are okay because this will not be the last stock that goes up 300% this year. It may be the last one this month, but it won't be the last one this year. There will be other opportunities. And when those opportunities come along, maybe some of those will be cleaner and you'll be able to do a little bit better on them. I hope I will too. So I wouldn't get too bent out of shape over missing one because there's always another one around the corner. We're in a pretty hot market right now. I mean, it's a little like some days are cold and then it's hot, but we're seeing quite a lot of opportunities. What I wouldn't do is change the time that you trade today or change your share size because of your feelings of frustration. Don't trade longer in the day because, oh, well, there was a move yesterday after the open. It was a penny stock, or, well, maybe this will curl. If you don't normally trade longer in the day, then don't trade longer in the day today. It's not worth it. Don't increase your share size to compensate for this. It doesn't matter. If you had, I mean, really, no matter where you sit on the month, whether it's red or green, the window is pretty much closed here. It's the last day. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. So let's come back and do it again tomorrow. On Monday. Let's start over on Monday. Let's start fresh, and let's try to have a better month next month. I made a few mistakes this month. I had a few trades where I I got myself frustrated. I got stubborn, and the loss got bigger and bigger. I had a $32,000 loss on Tuesday. I had another $36,000 loss. Well, I guess that was the end of June, but that was still, pretty frustrating. So, I had a $15,000 loss. I think it was on Monday, and then flipped from red to green on the day with that, kind of high risk trade. So I see some opportunity to smooth out my trading a little bit as well. I hope that we keep seeing decent moves, but it's been, it's been a little tricky. So I would just try to, think of this as, all right, if you kept your head above water, if you're still in the game at the end of July, good. If you didn't lose too much, but you gained experience, that's good. If you made a little, that's even better. If you made a lot, good for you. Put some of it away and save it for a rainy day, because not every month will be as good as, your best month. You can only have a best month, once. Everything else is a little bit lower than that, until the market picks back up and you have another best month. But pace yourself. And for those of you guys that really got smoked in July, for whatever reason, maybe you're new, gave into FOMO, not following the rules, and you might know that. You might know I'm not doing as good of a job as I should. A couple things you could do. One would be over the weekend, watch the Trader Rehab course. Check into Trader Rehab. I know it's not fun, but it's what you got to do. If you've had a series of big red days and you've gotten yourself into a spiral, watch the Trader Rehab class. That is an honest breakdown of how I recover after getting smoked. So I would really recommend that. And then you can start August on sort of a clean slate with a new mindset, a new set of goals. So through Trader Rehab, I give you a trading plan. I walk you through the way I approach recovering from a big loss. Ted does that class with me, so there's a whole trader psychology component. So I would do that. If you were red in a big way during July or this summer so far, watch the Trader Rehab course. You may realize that you're in a little over your head. You maybe shouldn't be trading with real money, and you've gotten yourself so in the weeds that it's hard to step back. Watch the Trader Rehab course, step back over the weekend, and reevaluate. We should all do that. We should all look at our metrics and evaluate. What did we do well in July? What needs improvement? I think the thing that we'll see, the thing that we'll see for me is the time of day. Let's see, this month. So I don't think we can say like, oh, don't trade on Tuesdays. I think that's just bad luck. But, you look at the performance by time and, that was avoidable. That was a mistake. That was a big mistake. So, this was the Jersey Mike IPO yesterday. Small win, doesn't really matter, but that's an IPO. I did upload that archive for you guys, but in any case, price and volume, lost a little bit on stocks over $20 a share. This one, performance by in-trade price range, I don't know. It's going to be kind of hard to predict that sometimes, but doing better when the stock has more volume, doing better on relative volume, of course, being higher, that's always the case. But accuracy declined, only about 60% accuracy. Profit loss ratio is 2-to-1, that's good, but the accuracy came down a bit. So, there's some room for improvement. So spend some time looking at your metrics, seeing what you could do to get a little bit better. And if you want to reset and trade in the sim in August is typically a slower month, so you're not going to miss much by trading in the sim realistically. And even if you did miss something, the market's not going anywhere, so it really doesn't matter if it's helping you slow things down and stabilize. But if you trade in the sim here, then aggregate all your data for you so you can see your metrics, you can monitor your progress. If you're trading real money, you could scale back to just taking one trade a day, slowing down a little bit, pumping the brakes. Get in, get green, get out. Don't overstay your welcome. Um, and that would also be a good approach. So I think you'll notice this month, pretty much every day, I was trading the number one leading gainer in the market. Today, it's FCUV. Yesterday, it was NUWE, which was the leading gainer until that penny stock came up. So focusing on making sure I'm trading the right stock has been important. I have gotten in a little bit of a pickle if I've gotten in the right stock way too high because I chased it. That's caused some losses. It was the right stock, but I chased it. And I have had some mistakes where I took a trade on something that really was not the right stock. I got a little FOMO, I jumped in, and then was like, uh-oh, that was a mistake. So, I still have some room for improvement there, but trading the leading gainers has been sort of really, really important. It's like, these are the most obvious stocks in the entire market. These are the stocks any active trader would be looking at. I mean, it's just you're up 335%. I mean, let's be honest. It's very obvious. Webull, Robinhood, they're emailing out top gainer scanners. These are the biggest movers today. They want people trading. So 905 right now. FCUV just sort of pulling back. Since we are coming to the end of the month, let's see. So last day of the month here today. Those of you guys who have been having a good month, those of you guys who have been enjoying your experience here, and really anyone who's interested, I would love for you guys to take 2 minutes to just write, even if it's just one sentence about the experience you've been having here, and put it in a testimonial on Trustpilot. And you can also put the same thing on the Better Business Bureau. We are accredited at the Better Business Bureau. And so your testimonials there are really, really helpful. So let me just leave you the code for Trustpilot. So Trustpilot is a website for collecting reviews and testimonials, essentially. So this is where we've got 2,600 here, but this is where people leave a testimonial of, hey, I'm having a good experience, and this is what I like about Warrior Trading. So let's see. And then the Better Business Bureau is also helpful. And you can use the same testimonial and just copy and paste it in both spots. The Better Business Bureau, and I'll just give you this link here, is only available for U.S. residents, which is very interesting. They don't allow international, not even Canadians. I mean, it's crazy. I've heard it's because they don't like people that wear denim. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it. So Canadians, you're out. You cannot leave a testimonial on Better Business Bureau. Your opinion is not considered, worthy. And that's also for the entire rest of the world. Only U.S. residents. But this is also helpful. So you can leave the same testimonial, just copy and paste it in both places. So anyways, I just thought I'd put that out there every now and then at the end of the month or at the end of a class. I'll just put out that request that if you want to leave a testimonial, they make a big difference for us. So thank you guys for doing that. We're sitting here at about coming up to 10 past 9. So watching to see if we get any more opportunities going into the open. So I'll put that up there for now. It's funny. I noticed a lot of people talking about these prop firms, like Apex and Lucid. I think those are like a futures thing. It's interesting. I've noticed. There's some people that have this perception, um, that trading small caps is like super super risky. You should not trade small caps. It's super risky. You should trade Forex instead. You should trade futures instead. But then a lot of people trading Forex and futures use leverage, a lot of leverage. And so I'm like, that's kind of an interesting perception. Oh, I'm going to trade gold because, it's more stable, but I'm going to use like a ton of leverage to trade it. I don't know. At the end of the day, the strategy that I trade is the one that I learned. It's the one that's worked the best for me. Is it the best strategy in the world? I don't think so. I'm sure there's others that are more profitable. Is it the easiest to learn? I don't know. But it's what has always made the most sense to me. And when I try to understand why people, would trade Forex or futures, it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around it. I see people with these really complex charts, for looking at the E-minis or whatever, and it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you're trying to see a pattern where there really isn't one. I'm just not sure. Again, I don't have a lot of experience with it, so it's just what I see from the outside. But it just to me seems you know, like my whole, and I've been working on, just sort of writing this stuff down and thinking about my strategy. And as I've retaught the classes this year, I've been thinking about it a lot. That each day I'm looking for the leading gainers. Why? Because I'm looking for volatility. Well, why don't I trade like Tesla or, Apple every day? They're moving up and down. It's like, yes, they are, but they have low relative volume. They don't have big percentage moves. They're higher priced. Well, you could trade options. Yeah, you could, but you're trying to make a prediction of what people are going to do and think on a stock that's, just sort of trending. I feel like that's where you subject yourself to the high frequency trading algorithms and, the whim of some investors who take a big position or exit a big position. And I just don't know. Again, I'm sure there's people that have found a way to make it work, but um, that always felt like more of an uphill battle than just sitting down and looking at a stock like FCUV. Now, some people will say this is just too volatile, it's too fast. And I get that. And I get that it requires a certain aptitude to trade these. You've got to make decisions quickly, you've got to be able to feel comfortable taking risk. But, if your goal is to try to lock up 15 or 20 cents a day per share, with eventually 2,000 shares, 500 a day, 100 grand a year, something like that. It just seems like there's so much opportunity in this window to get that in areas that respect traditional chart patterns, that respect your traditional indicators. But yeah, I get that not everyone wants to. I mean, some just feel that they can't keep up, and so then they kind of go to a slower market. And what I think, what I actually think is trading these types of stocks. Um, if you're not cut out for it, you will probably lose money faster than trading something like Netflix or Apple all day long. With those stocks, you won't lose 50% of your account in one day. But over the course of many months and years of just not having any edge in that market, you'll erode your balance. And so it's a slower path to the same destination, I suppose. Um, which is to not find success. And those who do find success are the ones that, with these types of stocks, are able to be very critical and think and get in, get out quickly, have very solid mental, emotional awareness, know when it's time to walk away, when they're over trading, just be very ruthless about getting in, getting green, getting out. So we've got about 15 minutes to the opening bell here. I'm finishing the month in good shape in the big account. Small account, ran into a little bit of a bump in the road this week. Thank you. I appreciate you posting that. Thank you. All right, so doesn't look like I'm going to get any more trades. I think this long period of the MACD being negative on FCUV, um, we had ascending support here, kind of a head and shoulders pattern, and now it broke. So if we come back up, we're going to run into this issue here, this resistance point. I mean, we are in between VWAP and resistance, but the MACD is slightly negative. The volume has declined. It's the last day of the month. I already gave back 10% off the top. So, uh, I've had what was it? I think on Tuesday I gave back, or no, Wednesday I gave back more than 50% off the top. So probably should just call it. But John will come on here at the open and walk you guys through, more of what's going on. It's been really nice having his market commentary. He's very cool, very calm, collected. Um, he's not trading while he's giving you that commentary. He trades pre-market the way I do, so he's able to sort of just he's not trying to. I'm trying to juggle trading, and it's a lot going on at once. But he's definitely a nice, calm influence, I think, for you guys, which is great. So you get to see a little bit of the excitement of me trading some of these really big moves, and then you get to kind of mellow out and listen to John give you more commentary through the opening range. And of course, you could spend the evenings or weekends studying the classes. All right. Yep. I hope you have a good weekend too. Lewis, I'll see you on Monday. I mean, realistically, even though August isn't historically a super, super strong month, I guess we could pull up my metrics again. We were looking at this earlier today. Where is it? So, so let's look at um, so consistently, I've had my two best months ever were both in June. Not really sure why, but well, June of the pandemic, and then June with the PD. No, June of last year, and then June of this year was also really good with the PDT rule. But June of last year was really good. August, I had a good August in 2020 during the pandemic, but outside of that, that was the highest August I ever had. September had a good one, really good September in 2025. That was incredible. Um, 2020 was also a good one. October 2025 was bad. November, December were better. So, yeah, there's some. I like to say the market is a little bit seasonal. There is some seasonality to it. I typically expect it'll be strong towards the end of the year and strong at the beginning of the year, and summers are just sort of hit or miss. But then there's the cycles. I feel like right now one of the challenges that we face is that we don't have super clear. There's not a catalyst that I'm like, if we have a stock with that headline tomorrow, I'm putting my entire account into it. I guess the only thing that might do that would be if, like, we had a SpaceX taking an acquisition. SpaceX takes like a 20% stake in a company or something like that. Something like that I would probably get pretty aggressive on. But I don't know. Maybe that just because of the Elon Musk, following. But SpaceX stock is also down quite a bit. So I don't know. I just think that we've had other periods like last year where a crypto treasury strategy came out and it was like full throttle, right? That was the one all in. And that worked really well for months, which, because it became so predictable, was able to make a lot of money on that catalyst. It just kept coming out. And then it stopped working eventually. Okay, well, that's the way it is. And then I thought we kind of would have a prediction market catalyst for a little bit there. We only had one at the beginning of the year. It worked really, really well, but then that was it. Um, and then, yeah, I just don't feel like we really had a good catalyst, like a good, like a really obvious theme. So it definitely feels a little hit or miss right now. Um, which makes it hard to size up in a big way. And as a result, I'm at like 50% of what I made last year at this time. So I'm behind my last year goal. Many of you might be as well. The last year was a great year. This year is a little softer. It's kind of out of our control. There's nothing we can really do about it. Can't change that the market's slower, but what we can do is think about how we approach it. So it seems like there must be enough traders that are interested in this second move higher. Look at that. So this is really interesting because you're right at this ascending resistance level, but you can see how it's piercing it. This would be a tricky place to be a buyer, right at the double top. So, this is an example of one that has given a little bit more action there, but because of the position of that ascending resistance line, it was hard to feel confident. You've got 8 minutes or so to the opening bell. So the shape of this candle right now, you've got a topping tail. So the way I would look at something like this, generally speaking, is I would say, well, if it can break through, if it can hold the top of this resistance line, but really what we would prefer is to see a cup and handle formation, right? If we get a nice cup and handle formation, then that's where we'd be like, all right, this is something I can kind of work with. It doesn't surprise me that it ran into resistance here because the previous time it was up there, we were at we had a topping tail, right? A couple topping tails up here last time. So in fact, the highest close from that area was like right there. These were all topping tails. So the low of this area here is like 935. Well, it's not that I want it to fall. I feel like it needs to give us a proper pullback here in order to manage risk. What I would worry about is that if it goes too soon, it doesn't hold. But, maybe I'll be wrong on that. New high was 1050, but then look at that flush back down to 990. So that's a rejection there. It goes up, but it gets pushed back down. So maybe people are selling, maybe short sellers are selling against that pop, but it's clearly got that pressure right there. So this candle currently has 30 seconds left on it, and it's a red shooting star. Still has time to change. It could close as a green candle with a bottoming tail, right? All of a sudden now it's a doji. If it goes back above 25, it's going to be a green candle. It's got 10 seconds left. So it looks like it's going to close as a topping tail, maybe with a shooting star formation. Yep. So, that's just showing you that resistance up there. On the other hand, if you're a short seller, I probably wouldn't be too confident, even though on the 5-minute chart, you could probably say, well, this is definitely like, I'm going to reject. Look, you've got two topping tails, this big rally from $8 up to 10. It's going to roll over. And probably I think that's a good chance. But, coming into the open, you could see a flush down and then a rip back up. And suddenly it's in a halt, and then it's gapping higher, and you're like, uh-oh, this could get a little crazy here. The fact is, it's up 400% as we go into the open, and it's holding up pretty well. It's in the top of the range. You can't deny that, right? Now, look at how I drew the bottom of that box right down there. And right now, we're kind of very close to that level. I think that's interesting. Now, if we had like a minute to the bell, I would be considering taking a dip right there and looking for a squeeze into the open. But because we still have 5 minutes to the open, I'm just going to see what this does here. Maybe it needs to do a whole new 5-minute setup. Well, let's just see what this does the next couple minutes here. So in terms of sort of like probability of what this does at the open, we've certainly had some stocks at the open recently that squeezed up, but we've also had a couple that halt down, right? And all of a sudden the bell rings and they are pinned at the halt down level, and some of them do halt down. So suddenly if this halted down, then that really takes the wind out of the sails, and everyone's like, oh shoot, resumes, and maybe it curls back up later, but that's a whole different kind of setup that's a little bit later on. So we're kind of still in this boxed range right now with that low of 935 and the high of 1050 technically, but 1025-ish. So flushing back below 10. Well, so 25 cents per share. I think if you're focused on just being patient, waiting for that setup, it is still obtainable. So the thing on the daily chart on this one is that you don't really have any significant areas of resistance. which, I think is another element. I want to see if at the open it flushes and then gives us that possible like halt down to then catch a curl back up. I would say that if you have a cushion of profit, if you don't have a cushion of profit, you don't want to be trading at the open. This is too risky. Just let the dust settle. It's only if you've got a decent cushion that you should even be thinking about taking a trade here. So 75 on the bid. Okay, so high this candle here, 1014. Count. I'm going to let it dip down though. But I'm looking for a possible halt up. So watching here, halt is over 11. So watching to add over 1075. Add a 1075 there. Now looking for the breakthrough 11. So let's see if we can squeeze through 11. 1115, 1125, 1150. Nice. Do we halt up? Got a little profit off the table. We're now up 500%. So, good job. Good job, right? Nice. That was a pretty calm trade. So that gave me $4,000 in the small account. And that's going to go to charity. That's for the children. So had to do something for the kids today. Never mind $62,000 for me, but still got to do something for the children. So that was a little bit. That's pretty much a gap and go trade. That was a little bit risky, but I felt pretty confident because of the way we were hanging out right underneath that level that we were going to break that pre-market high and squeeze up. I optimistically was hoping we would halt. We did, as you saw, have a little resistance at like 1065, 1075 before breaking 11 and then going up to 1144. We were not able to halt up. So, it's a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. I think at this point now, this is a tough 1 minute candle because it's a high volume red candle, and that sets the tone for the day. So would have loved for that to have been a green halt up and then scaling out, but holding some for the resumption and a move up to 13, 14. We knew we had room on the daily chart. Doesn't want to do it? All right, that's fine. Scale out, right? Pay yourself. So what a day. Again, those of you guys who haven't taken a couple minutes to leave a testimonial on Trustpilot or, the BBB, I appreciate you guys doing that. It really does makes a big difference. So I would say now with 3 minutes into the day, I'm gonna take the money off the table. Now I've got to do two recaps. I'm going to do the small account recap and I'll do the main account recap. And I'm grateful to have made $4,000 in the small account today. I didn't really think that was going to be possible to get that big of a trade in this price range, but I had 3,000 shares at 9.94, and I got out, you know, over 11, all of it. So that that recoups more than half of what I lost on uh, Tuesday. So instead of being down 7 grand on the, in a drawdown, I'm now down like 3 grand. Good. All right. I knew it was going to take a little bit of time to recover that loss. It's not. I wasn't going to make it all back in one day, but I just put a pretty good dent in it. So I think that's pretty good. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll let John come on. I'm a little over my time here, and I'll see you guys back at it on Monday morning.
Here in that circle. In that circle, um, and it was a good trade, but right when I sold it, it went up in that next candle. So, and then the other trade would have been